Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Screens, the Crew Chronicles with Ventana Productions. With us, one of our newer employees, actor, filmmaker, and our very own studio manager, Chandler.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It looks like you are in a beautiful space behind us. Where are you recording from today?
Yeah, well, this is a perfect start right off the bat with a nice plug. This is Ventana Productions. This is Studio C. So this is our newest studio. It's built more specifically for podcasting. If you can't tell, it's just like a beautiful wall. We have some plants. We have a bunch of different angles we can use, but it's essentially ready to walk in, sit down, and tape.
And that's perfect because we do have a lot of podcasts coming in and out of there.
Yeah.
So for any audiences who are interested, hit us up on the website today. We'll leave a link below in the description. But we want to know a little bit more about you first, Chandler. So, what is your favorite or most memorable Ventana project that you've worked on?
Yeah, so it might be a little bit off brand. As you mentioned, I'm Ventana's studio manager. But so far, with my time with Ventana, my favorite shoot I've been a part of was actually a field shoot. I got to work with Weta Arts as a DP on a story they were covering about Seven Drum City, which is an organization in Washington, D.C. And specifically, they were covering an event called Flash Band, where they have a bunch of bands sign up and band members all get mixed around and they make new bands for the first time. They have a short amount of time to practice, get to know each other, pick a song selection and a performance. So I got pulled in. Yeah, it was incredible. It was like Halloween weekend of last year, 2024. And I got to cover the performance. So I got to go in. It was all handheld camera work on a gimbal, so my forearms were killing me. But it was a really, really cool experience to be a part of.
Wow. Sounds like the workout of your life, but
Oh, yeah.
also an amazing experience. So, since you were acting as a DP in that role, what was something that you learned as a DP in that role?
Yeah, be prepared, which fortunately we were. But with live event coverage, once it starts, it's done like that. So if you go in prepared, knowing kind of like shots that you're wanting to hit or specific points that you're wanting to cover, and you have enough prep work, you really just go in and it's like, it's kind of like riding a bike. You're not thinking about the pedals, but once you get where you're going, you have to stop. So you're prepared with what you want to hit, and then you go in and you make it happen, and then you're really tired, and then rest. Oh, and wear proper footwear. That's a big
Oh
one.
yeah. What's your go-to footwear then for a long shoot day?
I am not a great example of proper footwear. I am currently wearing like $10 TikTok shoes because I needed a new
TikTok.
pair, and I just haven't gotten around to getting another pair of shoes.
Okay.
If I'm on my feet, I like tennis shoes, but it's tough because I also like to dress professionally and look
Mhm.
nice on set, and I don't like wearing tennis shoes when I'm uh, trying to look nice. So
That's
I've seen a lot
completely
of
fair.
like lug sole boots, or like not work boots, but like leather. I don't know. Doc Martens is kind of a
Yeah, like
nice
Doc
brand.
Martin style boots for a
Yeah,
long day on set. Yeah, that's
break
what
them
I used to
in.
wear too on set. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
but definitely get the Dr. Scholl's that are custom fit to your feet because that helps.
All right, that's a good hack right there.
Oh yeah.
Well, did you have any particular challenges that you had from working on this project?
Yeah, it's it's a live event. It was way more crowded than we anticipated. It was like a sold out show. So
Oh, wow.
imagine you're not covering the performance, you're covering the event. So when the hosts and the leaders of all the bands come in, you're catching them coming in, you're grabbing interviews. It's an empty house, and then the house opens and people start filling in. You're still rolling. You have to be able to navigate from I kind of have a clear understanding of the space and clearance to go wherever to now I'm navigating through big crowds of people, and
Mhm.
having to be professional about making sure I can get where I'm going, but also being assertive enough that I don't have to like lift my arms and bump people because my hands are busy holding a camera.
Yeah.
So definitely the navigation and people of it all, and then working with the house lighting is always a challenge because it's on a stage, so you have to kind of work with the lighting that's provided for you, but also take into account the lighting in the space, whether you're going to have like lighting issues on camera or scan lines or this all this crazy little technical stuff.
Wow. So
But
you're not bringing in lighting equipment of your own. You're just going in with what is around you and making that work.
Yeah, for the most part, I do like to bring a little bit of something just in case. So for
Mhm.
this specific event for Flash Band, I had a like a 1 foot by 1 foot LED panel that I brought in just to highlight subjects when we did like a stand up interview. So I you
Smart.
really you have your camera set for the lighting of the space, you frame everything up, and then you just want to make sure that subject pops. So just bringing in a little something to highlight them. But really, for the most part, when you're running around with a gimbal, you don't. There's no gimbals for lights, so you kind of
Yeah.
got to make do and find your angles that make the lighting that's available work.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like it was such a just exciting experience for you.
Oh yeah,
But to take a quick pivot, so you mentioned lighting is a challenge of like filming in the field when you're in a live event situation like that. So, what could possibly, as a studio manager, be some of the benefits of filming in a studio then over the field?
yeah. There's a couple of benefits to shooting in a studio over a field. The first of which, like if you're talking from a production side, just like you mentioned, you have way more control over your lighting. You can turn off house lights, close the door, and you're in pitch black. So any fixtures you bring up are going to be fully in your control, and you don't have to really fight any practical lighting or sunlight or windows or anything like that. So it's a lot
Nice.
smoother on the lighting side. But even on the audio side, you don't have to worry about traffic noises, coughs, like people walking or talking, or people on phone. Like it's all dead silent, pitch black, and you really get to work from the ground up and build your environment for what you need it to be, which is incredible. Other benefit, to kind of go back to a little bit of the imagining being in a theater that's packed with bodies, not the most comfortable situation, whether you're shooting, whether you are client or producing. But in our studios, it's far more comfortable, and there's a little bit more room in a studio when you're shooting. But we also have a green room for each of our studios designated for clients and producers to sit in if they need to, with workspaces available. We even have full kitchens for each studio. We have a kitchen designated for our Studio A and for Studio B. And then we have Wi Fi, which you don't always get in the field.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a much better setup in some ways. But to carry on with that, I wanted to ask too, like, I think some people would be concerned about the versatility of filming in a studio over the field. So, what are some ways around like trying to make a space look like a field space with the
Yeah,
studios we have?
absolutely. A lot of times, yeah, with your studios, you kind of have some pre-built options. And for the most part, Ventana does have a lot of pre-built options. We work with Seamless a lot, or we can build practical sets, bringing in like bookshelves and wood paneling. But something that we've been able to work with really well over the past year or so is our newest 30-foot by 9 foot tall curved LED wall in Studio B. And to an extent, we have an LED wall in Studio A as well, which we can work with. But that allows us to really turn our studio into any environment we want. If you want to shoot in a high rise New York building, you can do that in downtown DC.
Wow. That sounds awesome. And from the comfort of being in an office instead of the
Absolutely.
traffic and you having control of the lighting, I mean, that sounds like a pretty great setup. To pivot us a little bit further, you are fairly young, you're a studio manager, you've got a lot of responsibility in your career so far. So, what advice would you give other aspiring studio managers or production managers, people who want to be in this side of the field?
Be ready to be flexible. I always say I wear a lot of hats. So get a nice hat rack. Be willing to admit when you don't know something, and just as willing to take the steps on your own to figure out how to fill in those gaps of knowledge. As a studio manager, there's times where I have PA'd on a set and I've been a production assistant. There have been times I've gripped. There have been times I've been an A2 and mic'd up guests. There's times I've been an A1 and run the audio board. I've switched video. I've been a web tech. I've been a second shooter. I've been a lead DP. Like, just you're got to be ready to fill in all those positions, not only so that you can do them if the need arises, but also having an understanding of how every role works in a production
Mm.
environment is going to inform you how best to work with others who are in those roles.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, how can someone practically start doing that?
Absolutely. First step, whether it's in a studio or you're wanting to go in the field, first step is look for opportunities to be a production assistant. It
Mm,
seems like a small role, but I think the saying in live theater is there are no small parts, and the same goes for a film set. If a PA was a small enough role and wasn't necessary, they wouldn't be budgeted for. A PA
mm,
can be one of the most versatile and useful positions on a film set if you know what you're doing. And going in with that mindset of I'm going to learn and I'm going to come into this environment and I'm going to try and fit the environment, but I'm going to also learn how I can be the most helpful. And then eventually that's like a great opportunity to find what department you're most interested in and really be able to focus a department. If you like all the departments, it gives you an opportunity to work with a little bit of everybody.
wow. Yeah, that's some really sound advice right there. It really does give you the most like holistic approach to seeing what you like to do within the industry. Before we started recording, you mentioned how important client relationships are.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can Ventana offer our clients? What makes us stand out as a video production company?
Well, I 100% agree with our Vice President, Tim Murray. If you guys haven't watched his interview, definitely go watch that. But I'm going to expand on it a little bit because I don't want to just steal his answer. So I see two main things amongst a myriad of reasons of why Ventana is the way to go. The first is professionalism and experience. Ventana is like 30 years old now, and we have DPs who have been in the industry shooting for that long. Our crew, when they walk onto a set, they're not just talented, they're wizened, they're skilled. They've been doing this. They've likely seen the setups that you specifically are wanting to go for. They've likely done it a handful of times at least before, and they know what challenges they're going to face, how to prevent those issues from arising. It's just things that they do by instinct because they've been doing it for so long successfully. The final outcome of what our shooters shoot and our audio guys record is just, it's incredible. We've gotten to work on also a wide variety of projects, so our crew is also incredibly versatile. If you're like, oh, well, can they shoot commercials? Yes, we have a commercial shoot next week. Can they shoot narrative shorts? Oh, yeah, we've worked with the CDC on educational narrative fiction pieces. There's nothing Ventana can't do. It's really, with that experience that we're working with and the diversity that we have amongst our crew, it's really incredible. The second, speaking of crew, is personality. I think it is vital in this industry to be able to be easy to work with. Being able to like regulate that fatigue and that
Mm,
hunger and those emotions and still be able to present a positive work environment and a positive set is not something you can always get in the industry, but it's also for clients, for producers, and for each other. It makes the day so much easier to just be in a
mm.
positive, optimistic, and collaborative environment. And Ventana does just that. There's not a day with a terrible hard shoot that we're not all like laughing and having a great time.
No, that's so true. I've had the pleasure of PAing on a couple of Ventana shoots when they've come out to California for a couple of things. And I will say, like, no matter how long the day was, just being with the people who knew what they were doing down to their core. And I remember so vividly, Tim and I sat packing up gear and I was just asking him questions the whole time about like what do these things do, what is the
Yeah.
purpose of this lens, what does this do, and he spent all that time just entertaining my questions and taking the time to answer them with like such wisdom and such grace. And even some of our clients were hearing that, like our guests that we were interviewing were hearing this and they were excited and fascinated by people who've been doing this for 30 plus years still love what they're doing.
Absolutely love it and are passionate about it, and you can feel it with everything. Like, just like you're saying, Tim will not stop talking about and explaining what goes into different aspects of production. It's what makes him fantastic. It's what makes him an incredible leader and an incredible DP. And Rich is the same way. They're Tim and Rich at their core are both like these teachers. They have these teachers or mentors spirit, which
Yeah.
is not only just great to be around because they explain why things work the way they do and help give insight into like why we approach things, how we have to approach them, but it also makes a great environment for investing in the next generation of filmmakers and documentarians, because when we bring PAs or interns on set, they have this vast well of knowledge that they can really tap into and learn and be better equipped for the next shoot.
Wow. Yeah, that's so true. Well, to sum up that, basically, Ventana is great because you're working with wizened people. I loved the way that you phrased that. Wizened people and people who love what they do, people with
Yeah.
great personalities, yourself included. But I wanted to ask you one final question as we're wrapping up here. What is one piece of media, movie, TV show, etc., that has inspired you as a filmmaker?
This is a tough question because I think everything I watch or read, for that matter, any kind of media or content I try to ingest, I try to take something out of it. I try to let everything that I'm a part of, I guess entertainment wise, inspire me, because there's always something that you can learn or glean, or there's always something someone does better than you, or neat ideas you haven't thought of. So like I don't know, there's so many answers I could go with. I'll actually use two shows that are pretty similar because I think they kind of inspire me the same way. This Is Us and A Million Little Things are both great examples of just kind of raw storytelling in a way. They're not doing anything crazy with world building or insane, unpredictable, or unlikely storylines. And it's just like a glimpse into what it means to be a human in today's day and age, and more specifically, like what it's like to be an American in these different cities that they take place in. And being able to tie in these different character arcs and growths and perspectives all in a cohesive story that is impactful and makes you feel.
No, I love that. My favorite type of content too is like the very human storytelling. And I think that's something that Ventana does very well. We do a lot of interviews, very personal interviews with people where we hear their stories. And I think that is a great way that you get inspired too as a filmmaker, that you get to witness incredible stories and then you get to regurgitate them back out through the work
Absolutely.
you're doing. Wow, that's incredible. Now that you've dropped some great recs for all of us to watch, thank you for that. I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be behind the screens with Ventana. And is there any like parting words you want to leave with our audiences?
Oh man, work with us. You don't know what you're missing. It's a fantastic time. And actually, if you have had any idea for something you might want to shoot or any show, or reach out. We are building this really cool new studio program. It's built around you and your needs and what you want to do, whether that's whether you're a small business owner and you're wanting to increase your brand presence, or whether you're trying to promote more sales or increase revenue. So if you have anything in mind, or if you've thought, maybe this is something I want to do for me or my business, or if you have a podcast that you just are really wanting to get a solid pilot for, reach out.
Yeah, hit us up. There'll be a link in the description. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Chandler, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for whatever Ventana has coming next. All right. Bye, everybody.